Greetings, my name is Kerry and this is Kerry Louise Reads. Today I have the final of my TBR lists for 2022. As I said in the most recent one of these I did, I intended to film these right at the start of the year, but life has been happening so much this year, and we're now 2/3 of the way through the year. This is a list with 20 books on it. I have read 2 of them. The chances of me getting through all the other books on this list are slim, but never mind, we're going to persevere anyway, and I'm going to go through the list. So this list is books from subscription boxes. I have 2 current subscription boxes that I am subscribed to. In the past I had a couple of others, but actually I think all of these are from the 2 subscription services that I still have ongoing. One is from an independent publisher called Perrine Press. They specialise in translated books, usually from European languages, therefore often from European countries, although they have featured books from other countries as well where they were written in a European language, and it's works that generally wouldn't find their way into English any other way. They publish 3 books a year. I've been subscribed to them actually nearly as long as I've been on BookTube, because I first read a book from them in 2018. I've read some of the books I got from them, but not all of them, so there's quite a few books from them on this list. The other subscription service that features on this list is Ninja Book Box. So Ninja Book Box is on a break at the moment, but generally they produce a quarterly book box of a book from an independent publisher with a number of gifts relating to the book. Alongside that, they have produced one-off boxes called the Little Box of Calm and the Little Box of Hope, and they also have done summer adventure boxes which contained 3 books and advent calendar boxes which contain 4 books. So the Ninja Book ones are a mixture of all of those different products that they produce. As I go through the books, I'll tell you where they came from. So I'm going to go through the ones that are on the list that I haven't read, and then I'll swing back and cover the 2 that I have read at the end. These are roughly in order of when I received them, starting from the oldest coming through to the newest, but they're all ones that I received before the start of 2022. I have received a few from these subscription boxes since the start of 2022, but I wrote this list at the start of the year before I received them. So without further ado, let's go on to the books. So the first is a Perrine book. This is called Faces on the Tip of My Tongue by Emmanuelle Pagano. This is translated from French. I believe it's a short story collection. It's kind of a fabulist, surrealist maybe, collection of stories about rural France and random slightly magical things happening. I don't know much more about it than that, but I love French literature in general. That's one of the reasons why I did a degree in French. Yeah, always keen to read Perrine books. I have mostly really enjoyed all the books I've read from them. There's only 1 or 2 that I haven't enjoyed quite so much, but they've all been above 3 stars. And they're all quite short, which helps as well. It should help me get through some of the ones on this list. I also should say as well, with Perrine, 50 pence from the sale of every book goes to charity. So that's great. And if you subscribe, you get the books slightly cheaper than if you buy them when they come out, which is part of the reason why I do it, and partly to support a great independent press publishing great books. So that's the first one. The second book on the list was from a quarterly Ninja Book Box. It is called Grace's Table by Sally Piper. It's about a lady called Grace who is preparing a meal for her family for her 70th birthday, and about the family relationships and the memories and the tension in those relationships. The publisher is Legend Press. I love books centred around food and around meals, so I'm quite looking forward to picking this up. It's another quite short one. I might get to it quite soon. I don't know. We will see. But it's one that's really intrigued me, and I'm slightly cross that I haven't got to it yet. The next one is also from a quarterly Ninja Book Box, and this is another one that I really thought I would have read by now. I think because it's the first in a series, it slightly delayed me because I'm in the middle of so many series. But the concept sounds so good, and I have friends that rave about this author. Anyway, so this is Ink and Bone by Rachel Caine. This is about a world where the Great Library of Alexandria was never destroyed, which just grabs me at that. But knowledge is powerful and strictly controlled, and it's about a young man who is uncovering secrets at the heart of the Great Library. So this is the first in a series. The publisher is Allison and Busby. Any books about books I really love, so yes, I really should have read this by now. but hopefully we'll get to it soon. Also, I think the cover is really, really beautiful. The next one is another Perrine one. So this is Ankomst by Gohril Gabrielsen. This is translated from Norwegian. Don't really know much about what this is about. I'm just going to have a quick read of the blurb so I can tell you something. It's about an environmental scientist looking into the effects of climate change on animal species, and she's quite isolated. Sounds really interesting. As I say, I've really enjoyed everything I've read by Perrine so far, so yeah, hopefully we'll get to this one fairly soon. The next one is another one from a Quarterly Ninja book box. This is My Husband Simon by Mollie Panter Downs. This is about a young writer who marries a man called Simon, and it's about their relationship and how that affects her writing abilities and then how that changes. I don't know much more about it than that. I've heard quite a bit about Mollie Panter Downs from a bookish podcast that I really like, Tea or Books. So yes, I'm looking forward to reading this at some point. Next one is another one from the regular Quarterly Ninja book box. This is Diary of a Young Naturalist by Dara, McAnulty. This is an exploration from the perspective of an autistic young man about what nature means to him. I've heard so many good things about this book and so really keen to read it at some point. It's published by Little Toller. Yeah, I've heard so many good things about this book, and it's a love letter to nature really. So really keen to get to it soon, as I am with all of these books, as I say in each one of these TBR lists. The next three were from the first advent calendar box I had from Ninja Book Box. The first one is called Jesus' Son by Denis Johnson. This is a collection of short stories based around people from the margins of society, linked by the same narrator. I don't know much more about it than that, but the title really intrigues me. This is published by Granta. So the advent calendar boxes were all pre-loved books secondhand, whereas the regular boxes and the summer boxes were new ones, but these were hand-picked for me based on my reading tastes by Bex from Ninja Book Box, who puts a lot of work into the book advent calendars. So I'm really intrigued actually to read the books that she selected for me, both from the first one, I haven't actually read any of them yet, and from the more recent one. Hopefully we'll get to that soon. One that I actually will get to soon because it's set in the autumn, so I want to pick it up in the autumn. This was from the same advent calendar box. This is In Darkling Wood by Emma Carroll. This is middle grade. It's set in 1918, but it's set actually, I think it's parallel timelines. So one timeline is 1918 and the one is further in the future. It's about two young women and Darkling Wood and what that means to them. It's published by Faber and Faber. I believe it's middle grade, as I said. So it's set at the end of the First World War. It's quite autumnal, so I hopefully will maybe try and pick it up in November to read at the time that it's set, but we'll see. Quite looking forward to reading that one. The third book from that advent calendar box, there was a fourth one which is in storage somewhere at the moment, is called The Good Son by Paul McVeigh. This is set in Northern Ireland. It is set in the times of the Troubles. It's about a young man who doesn't quite fit in the village and the town that he's in and wants to escape. I think it's quite a coming of age story. This is published by Salt, and I've read a number of books published by Salt and they've all been pretty good, so I'm quite intrigued to see what this one is like. I think it might be quite gritty, so we will see. Okay, next we've got another Perrine one. This is called Nordic Fauna by Andrea Lundgren, and this is translated from Swedish. I don't really know much of what it's about. It's short stories and sounds like it's quite magical, supernatural, kind of the borders between reality and unreality from the description. Really intrigued. I hadn't realised it was short stories actually, so looking forward to picking that one up. Yeah, I quite like the cover. It's a whale. You can't quite see from the front, but there's a whale on the cover. A couple of whales, which is cool. Their books are just so beautiful, so looking forward to read that one. The next one is from the Little Box of Hope, which I think was last year. I can't quite remember. So this is How to Be Hopeful by Bernadette Russell. This is published by Elliot and Thompson, and it's described as your essential toolkit to rediscovering hope, empowering you to help create a kinder world, which I think sounds like something we all need. I've got a little postcard signed by the author. Hopefully we'll get to this fairly soon. Again, really lovely cover. I like shiny covers. This will fit in soon when I have a spot for non-fiction. Next we're back to one that was from a regular quarterly book box. This is Yumi and the Sea by Elizabeth Haynes. This is published by Myriad Editions. This is about a woman who has come to kind of breaking point in her life, but then gets the opportunity to move to a remote Scottish island, but everything is not quite as it seems. And I think it's a romance, but I'm not sure. It's another beautiful cover. It sounds really lovely. It's meant to have some beautiful descriptions in it, so we'll see. Next we've got 3 books that were from the Ninja Book Box summer reading box last summer. One of them I feel like I should have already read by this point in this year. It might wait till next year in the title. Actually, we'll talk about that one first. This is Illyrian Spring. Because it's set in spring, I might feel like I need to read it in the spring. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. This is another one I've heard talked about on the TM Books podcast actually, and it's about a woman, a painter, and she's travelling across Europe. I don't know much more about it than that. I've heard lots of really good things about it. Looking forward to hopefully picking it up when I feel like the need to travel. Kind of the point of this box was we still weren't really allowed to travel, so it was like travelling through books instead of actually physically travelling places. So yeah, that's one I've heard really good things about. The next one I think sounds like it's going to be right up my street. So this is called The Electric Women by Tessa Fontaine. This is actually non-fiction, I believe. Yes, it's a memoir about Tessa Fontaine's experiences of being in a circus troupe, which just sounds really, really fascinating. I'm fascinated by circuses. One of my favourite books is The Night Circus. I know this is like a more realistic thing, but yeah, books that are set in circuses I do find quite intriguing. So for this to be a memoir about circus sounds really, really interesting, and I'm really looking forward to finding out more about Tessa Fontaine and her experiences as a circus performer. And then the final one from that box was Vintage 1954 by Antoine Laurain. And this is translated from French. I actually have another book by Antoine Laurain in French, Le Carnet Rouge. So this is a time travel book. A man drinks a bottle of wine from 1954 and they find themselves transported back to 1950s Paris, and they've got to figure out how to get back to the present day. So it sounds really, really fun. So I'm looking forward to giving that one a try. The final Perrine book on this list is Winter Flowers by Angelique Villeneuve. This I think is translated from French again. It's about the end of the First World War and a family who are reunited at the end of the war and how their long separation has affected them as a family. Sounds really, really interesting. Might be another one to read actually alongside In Darkling Wood. I think they would probably pair together quite well. Again, set in autumn, so might be one that comes quite soon, even though it's called Winter Flowers, set in kind of autumn winter. So yeah, we'll probably get to that one fairly soon in the autumn. Then the final one from the regular Ninja Book Box, this is Business as Usual by Jane Oliver and Anne Stafford. This is about, it's an illustrated novel in letters. I love a novel in letters. It's about a young woman who finds a job as a typist in a London department store. It's meant to be quite funny. Yeah, it looks like it's quite quirky from the way it's set out. There's some like illustrations in there as well. I think it could be quite fun. The publisher is Handheld Press. Yeah, it sounds like it could be really good. Then the last book on the list is one that was in the advent calendar I received last year. I just wanted to limit this list to 20, so I didn't include the other books that I received in that advent calendar, although I will get to them at some point as well. I decided to put this one on the list because it would also count towards Read Around the World. So this is called The Garden of Evening Mists by Tan Tuan Eng. This is set in Malaysia. It's about a young woman who is trying to come to terms with the loss of her sister by building her a memorial, and she learns about gardening and it helps her to come to terms with her past and also what's happened in her country. Apparently it's also been made into a film, but yeah, it sounds really, really beautiful. So looking forward to getting to this one. It's published by Canongate. So those are the 18 books on this list that I haven't read yet. I have read 2 of them, so I'm very quickly going to talk about them now. These were both from regular quarterly Ninja Book Boxes. The first one is On Relationships, which is published by 3 of Cups Press. This is an anthology of short stories and poetry and 1 or 2 graphic novels. I read this earlier this year, mostly really enjoyed it. There was one story that I really didn't enjoy, but the rest I really, really did enjoy. This one explores different forms of relationships and takes some really interesting insights into relationships and how they affect us. a lot of these stories I really enjoyed, and it's not just about romantic relationships, about family relationships as well. Really fun, really good. I've enjoyed most stuff I've read. 3 of Cups Press so far. That was a very good one. And then this one I talked about briefly in one of my massive wrap-ups. So this is The Lustre of Lost Things by Sophie Keller. This is kind of magical realism. It's about a young boy called Walter who has a communication disorder which makes life quite difficult for him. He lives with his mum, who runs a small magical bakery in New York. One day the book at the heart of the bakery goes missing. Walter has an uncanny ability to find things that have gone missing, so he sets out to look for this book and encounters a whole host of weird and wonderful people on his journey that helps him to become a bit of a braver person. This was really beautiful, and I really loved it, and I was glad to finally get to it because it was from quite an early book box and had just kept not being read, so I'm glad to have finally read it. So those are 18 books that I want to read and 2 books that I have read that I received in subscription boxes over the last few years. With 4 months left of the year, I don't know how many of them I actually will manage to read this year, but we'll see how it goes. Let me know if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them. Let me know what book boxes you've subscribed to and how good you are at reading the books from them. Or if you just want to let me know that you've been here, leave me an autumnal emoji, because we are heading into autumn and some of these books are set in autumn, and that means I should try and read them in autumn. So you can leave me an autumnal emoji in the comments to let me know that you've watched this far. You can also like this video if you liked it and subscribe if you haven't already. You can also follow me on social media. All that information is listed for you in the description box below. But that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye!